Hey, this is Carlos from A Brother Abroad, coming at you with the Abroadcast. Today I am still in Santiago, Chile, wandering around the town, leaving Barrio Brazil, trying to find some good Chilean food. It is difficult, but today I'm bringing to you a answers to a question that I get asked a lot. How can you afford to travel indefinitely? Okay, so I think the question to ask before that is how much does it actually take to travel indefinitely versus being at home? Like if you think about it, when we're all at home, we have expenses. We have rent, we have the car we have to pay for, we have our medical insurance, we have our food, we have the beers that we pay when we go out to go socialize with people, we have the movies that we watch to distract us from not liking our jobs and stuff. We have those expenses anyway. Um, in the U.S., I believe it takes $70,000. It did take $70,000 before the pandemic to be happy. Now it's right around $100,000. So what's that, about $8,500 a month? Now, whether most people in the US are happy or not that make $8,500, that's a great question. But let's think about, okay, how much does it cost to travel abroad and stay abroad? Now, like most nomads, I travel to one place for 1 to 3 months. I will stay in a city for 1 month because you won't, especially if you're working, it's easier to work if you're in one spot, and you'll be surprised how much you can fall in love with the place if you stay longer. Getting to know the people, eating the food, learning the language. Anyways, the longer you stay in a place, the cheaper it gets. Now, I did some research in 2022. I interviewed a bunch of nomads. I interviewed over 400 actually to ask them how much they spent in a place, how much they earned, and how long they stayed. And most of them stayed in a place between 3 and 9 months. If you stay in a place between 3 and 9 months, your costs drop drastically. And after that, we were able to identify some of the cheapest places in the world to stay where you can live a great quality of life. So one of them is Chiang Mai. Okay, so in Chiang Mai, Thailand, you get the best of Thai life. Um, it's not as debaucherous as Bangkok, but you get the food, you get the culture. You have beautiful beaches nearby. You can skate down to the beaches for the weekend. Did I say beaches nearby? No, there are no beaches nearby. You can skate down to Chilean people looking at me wondering why I'm talking to my phone. This is interesting. Okay. You can, from Chiang Mai, you can head to the mountains. There are beautiful lakes nearby. And the cost of living there is only $1,000 a month. So let's put this in perspective. You can rent an apartment for $400 if you're single. You can spend $250 a month on food. Going out to eat street food. Thai street food is better than anything you're going to get in any fast food restaurant in the US, I guarantee. Beyond that, you've got money left over for entertainment. And you can, this is assuming that you got a side hustle you're working on, a hustle, and you got time to build that hustle and trim your cash along the way. So $1,000, that means that 1 month of living and spending in the US, $8,500, will buy you 8 months in Thailand. Now, if you start thinking about that around the world, Lisbon, on the other hand, and Porto, I believe I just finished a cost of living study on those places. Lisbon is about $1,600 a month. $1,600 will buy you a month of living in a place like that. So, number one, the way that I afford to live abroad is I pick places that, foremost, make me happy. Still figuring out here in Santiago. Foremost, they make me happy. And second, they are insanely cheap. Not cheap as just in the price, but the value you get and the happiness you get far outweighs the amount of money that you spend. That halfway answers the question. I know that's what you're thinking. You want to know how I made money, not how I afford to live abroad. The second half is how do I make the money to live abroad? First off, I have a site. I have a website, abrotherabroad.com. Please go check it out. On that site, I write. I write everything about travel. I try to answer as many questions as possible about living abroad. And in exchange, advertisers pay me to put their ads on my site. If you have a community or an audience and you can explain to people what you write about or what you're sharing about, then you can find advertisers that'll pay to put things on your site. That happens with everything. So if you can cultivate a community, you can make an income. On top of that, I write books, published a few books, I write guides, and I sell those guides on my site. That initially paid for my living abroad. I think I got really stoked when it was like at $1,500 a month because that pays to live in most places. And as an American living abroad, I don't have to pay taxes. I do have to pay taxes, but there's an exclusion, which means that I get to keep most of the money in my pocket. So that's how I started earning money first. But before I left, I started investing, not in crypto. I was taking my money and I was putting it into value stocks, value investments, ETFs, and that has been growing the entire time. So the beauty of living a low-cost lifestyle, or living in places that are low cost but deliver the same quality of life as in the US, is I have tons of money left over to invest, which is what I've been doing. So recently, I built a house in Bali, as I keep telling everybody. I tell everybody, I built a house in Bali. I'm so proud of myself. That house was built with money from my investments. Oh man, we got some stuff going on here. This is true set Latin America. Yeah, that house was built with money from my investments, just the growth that came during the pandemic. So now it's interesting because I was able to save my money and invest it in stocks. I was able to build a house that now pays rental income, and I still have the stocks growing. So that's like a later thing, is figuring out the right investments that work for you. I'm going to get into that later. What else? Taxes. Okay, so here's the funny thing. People in the US pay taxes on rates between, I think it's what, 7? Is it 7% or 10% for the bottom tax bracket? And it goes up to 30 something. Well, if you're outside of the US, most of your income is excluded from taxes. So because I live outside of the US more than 330 days in a year, I automatically save 20 something percent of my income. That's 20 something percent more that I get to travel with and invest. Let's see, is there any other way that I make money? Oh, the house in Bali, we rent that out, and that makes a vacation rental level bit of income. And when we're not traveling, we get to live there. So it means we save on rent. Yeah, I think that's about it for now. But as I think of the others, I'll explain them. So I realized that the reason people are asking this question is because they want to know, what can I do to make money and go abroad? Okay, number one is experiment with side hustles. So before this actually worked out with the whole blogging thing, I built websites while I was on the road. Didn't pay me enough money and I wasn't very good at it. I consulted. Didn't pay enough. I didn't have enough clients and I wasn't willing to stick to it. I wrote books. That I kept doing. Once I nailed the formula, doesn't pay as much as I'd like, but considering I'm passionate about it and it pays enough, I keep doing it and I'm going to keep doing it. But experiment number one, anything that you think you're good at, especially if you can do it remotely, if you can do it online, give it a shot. Experiment with it, see how you can optimize how you do it, how you leverage anything you can to do more in less time or sell more easily. Number two is figure out how to, the side hustles that work for you, figure out how to roll them into a business. And by rolling them into a business, I mean you systematize how you do it. You focus on your customers, you develop your customer base, you start marketing, you think about taxes, you optimize so you can do more with less and there's less waste, there are less expenses, and you will have not just a side hustle, but a business that pays for you to live abroad. How have I seen my friends doing it? Okay, I have friends that are graphic designers, that are freelancers. I have friends that do side hustles on Fiverr. Lately, a few of them have been telling me they're making multiple thousands a week on a side hustle of like a few hours by doing anything AI related on Fiverr. Beyond that, there are a lot of consultants, coaches, call themselves about the same thing. If you have true experience in marketing or PR or in any business realm, let's see if I don't get hit. Okay. If you have true experience in any business realm where people pay consultants, you can turn that into a business as long as you build a business, maintain your customer base, and focus on them. Let's see. Ebooks, making digital printables, searching everything on Etsy that people are making and attempting to do the same thing. I'll end this with two things. The first thing is don't reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of things out there that already work, and the odds of coming up with something brand new that is not going to waste a lot of your time and is going to result in what you want soon is like pretty low. So instead, copy people that are doing something that works. What do you find what works? Okay, go on any platform where people offer a product or a service and look at what they're offering. Any product or service that is rated with a large number of reviews, rated highly, and the price is high means that people need that thing, and possibly you can do it too. Go on Etsy, search whatever your domain is, travel, business, marketing, anything like that. The only new space that's popping up is AI, and the good thing about that is it's proven that it's needed, and if you can figure out how to do it, then you might be the first in the space. So that's number one. Number two is don't get scammed. For everything offered, you don't need a course. Information is available free on the internet. Don't pay anybody $1,000 for a course unless you are certain that it's going to pay dividends. As in, if you're not going to make 25 times that in 6 months while you're doing your job, then don't buy it. Beyond that, how can you pay for travel? Start budgeting now. We'll get into that stuff later. But for now, I'll leave you with that. You can afford to go abroad and you can pay for it by figuring out the places that deliver what you want for a low price. Start side hustling now to find a business idea that you'll be able to do on the road. Test it out, build it into a business, prove that it makes income, put that income aside as much as possible, invest it, and keep that process going. And you will be able to travel abroad. But for now, I'm going to try and avoid by getting hit by a car. And I will see you next time. It's Carlos from A Brother Abroad. Out. Have a good one.